Hey, I'm Glenn Johnson.
And I'm Alyssa Spino.
And we're the RAIN team.
Yes.
Specializing in Clark County real estate. If you have any real estate needs, we'd love to help you out. But first off, you have to
click the button and subscribe to find out everything going on in Vancouver and the greater Vancouver area.
So if you're moving to Clark County or any parts of Clark County, we'd love to help you. If it's 9 days or 9 months or 90 days, we'd love to help you with your real estate needs here in Clark County.
Yes.
Hey guys, good day. Good to see all of you guys coming to you from our channel with Chad this morning from Cardinal Financial. And he's got some great information. We're going to be talking and introducing him in just a second. But before we do that, you have to subscribe to our channel. We need you to subscribe. And we're here, Melissa and I are here to help you with your real estate needs, give you information, up-to-date information about all the things of the market to help you be best informed to buy or sell your real estate. So please get a hold of us. We'd love to talk to you. The phone numbers are in the comments. Subscribe right now. Got Chad with us. I messed up that last video, Chad. I'm sorry about that. I brought him in a couple of weeks ago, and we actually pushed the wrong button. I pushed the don't go live button. So all the conversations we had were being recorded, and nothing official was being recorded like it was supposed to. So I apologize for that.
All good.
So. Hey, Chad, let's talk about how is inflation affecting the market today? Talk to us about that. You being a financial guy, I guess you guys specialize in getting people their finances for their houses and things like that. Talk just a little bit about what you do, and then let's talk about inflation just a little bit. So
yeah, absolutely. So thanks for having me on again. And so I'm a branch manager at Cardinal Financial, and so a big part of my job is forecasting the future and trying to make sure that my team knows what's coming, and by extension, the people that we work with on the community, the real estate agents and other referral sources. And so I've spent a lot of time obsessing about the inflation numbers because it has a direct impact on mortgage rates. I like that word,
obsessing. I love that. I love that.
It has a direct impact on rates, which has a direct impact on our business.
Sure.
And there's been a lot of pessimism over the past year about inflation. And so in my mind, there are three groups of people. There are optimists, there are pessimists, and then there are people like me who obsess about data. And so we want to cut down to it. And so at the end of the day, we just got last week an updated CPI report, which is one of the metrics that the Fed uses to measure inflation.
What is CPI? Explain that.
Consumer Price Index. And so it's the most comprehensive inflation gauge. It's not the Fed's preferred. It's the second most preferred measure, I guess, but it's the one that most of us look at the most. And so with CPI, last month we had a 0.1% decrease in inflation, which is the first time we've seen that in some time. In fact, a lot of people didn't realize we could actually have a decrease. And so there's a chart we're going to throw up here, and I keep looking at it here, but in the last 6 months, starting in July, we had 0 as a monthly increase, 0.1, 0.4, 0.4, 0.1, and then in December, we had a negative 0.1. When you add those together without compounding, that annualizes into a 1.8% inflation rate. The 6 months prior to that were dramatically higher, as you can see on this chart, but the thing that we have to keep in mind is each month that we go forward, we're replacing a month from the prior year. So in December, when we had a 0.1% decrease in the total inflation, we replaced a December 2021 figure that was 0.6. So we had a 0.7% gain. And then the last 3 months, we picked up over 0.5% each month.
That's fast.
It is. And so inflation is rapidly improving. Now, I don't know what the inflation numbers are going to look like in the coming months, but even if we see, January, February, March, move back up to 0.3 or 0.4, we're still replacing these large numbers at the beginning of the graph here. January is a 0.6 that we're replacing from last year. February is a 0.8. March jumps to 1.2%. So if we had a 0.2% month over month increase in inflation this coming March, we're going to pick up a full point that month.
That's big.
And so, again, I don't know what's going to happen with the monthly figures, but if you look at the graph, it tends to paint a pretty solid picture. Now, with that said, there's a couple of things that are really problematic right now in the inflation picture, and that's wage growth and the housing costs, the shelter costs. And if I can, talk about each of those, we're finally starting to see wage growth slow. It has now for a couple months in a row, and that's a good sign. It's heading in the right direction. It's got a ways to go, and hopefully it continues to move that direction, and we engineer a so-called soft landing. The housing side of things is really what the Fed is focused on, and if I can keep rambling for a minute.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's a problem with CPI. the metric that they look at for housing costs, shelter costs, is aged data. So it's a 12-month average. And what they do is they call people up and do a survey and ask them how much they pay in rent. Well, it doesn't differentiate between people who signed a lease agreement last month or 6 months ago or 10 months ago. And so this is a very slow moving average. And I'm trying to tell everybody that will listen to look at the ZORI index, Z-O-R-I. It's the Zillow Observed Rent Index. And I can send you a graph on this as well if you'd like. It measures what people are advertising their homes for on a monthly basis. So it's a much more lifetime index. And the reason why I point that out is we've actually seen rents decrease now 2 months in a row.
Wow.
Not just slow down, they're actually going down. From October to November was a 0.4% decrease on the ZORI index. And then in December, another 0.3%. And those numbers are not reflecting yet in the CPI because it's such a 12-month average. And so the reason why that's important is the shelter costs make up over a third of the total inflation picture. And so if we do, in fact, see, as Zillow is predicting, rent slowing down or even potentially decreasing, we're going to start to see it improve.
It's been going crazy. I mean, I'm a landlord and I'm kind of enjoying it, but it has been going crazy and way beyond the market. It just seems like it's way beyond the market right now too. So, it's just one of those things where, so you're seeing the numbers you're seeing are this is what I've done recently. And I don't know whether, I purchased a couple of investment properties and I'm paying over 7% on both of those units. But the reason why I bought them is because I'm anticipating these numbers going down and being able to refinance here in the next, probably year and a half. And are you seeing that from what, I know it's hard to predict, but you're kind of seeing that the interest rates are going to fall as inflation falls, right?
Well, that's kind of the general thought process, and I have to be, careful predicting the rates are going to come down because of the position I'm in. But what I do is I look at what are the experts predicting, and by experts, I look at Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. They're both predicting rates to come down a bit more this year. And by the way, they've already come down about 1% from their highs in November, which is about the same time we started seeing inflation come down. So we expect to see inflation continue to improve. There's going to be some bumps, and with that, most of the experts believe that we will see some improvement in interest rates moving forward. But you have to keep in mind that the mortgage market is a forward-looking tool. And so if the expectation is rates are going to ease a little bit, then they start to ease just because of that expectation. So we're already kind of moving in that direction. But it really depends on what comes out with inflation. If we have a bad inflation report, rates are going to pop up.
Yeah.
So it's not, I don't want people to assume that rates are going to come down, but if I was a betting man, I would say that more likely than not, we should see some improvement. How much, is anybody's guess.
Well, now, as a realtor, what I've seen is, and this is obviously anecdotal evidence, but the reality is, we were bidding on a $450,000 house, we were bidding $480 on it. Now that same $450,000 house, we're bidding $430 on it.
Right.
So there's a lot of leeway to make up for a little bit higher interest rates temporarily until they go back down again, in my opinion. People just want to get out of the market because, I'm just going to wait till it comes down. Yeah. Well, you might wait till it comes down, but the house prices seem to, they're not, they're coming down a little bit, but not that much either. And so, there may be there's probably a correction there might need to be, but I don't know. With me, Chad, it's just always been a good time to invest in real estate. Because over the long run, you're going to make money if you stay in the market. And there's times where everybody that invests in anything has to pay a price somewhere down the road. You're going to go through a dip in the market, whether it's a stock market or rental market or residential market. There's always going to be a hit. And I think you have to go through a couple of those to really see prosperity come. So to me, it's not necessarily, is it a good time to buy? Well, it's not necessarily a good time for you to buy, but I don't think it should get you out of the market to at least explore it. I don't know that if you're seeing that, or have you guys seen business drop off quite a bit, or is it staying steady, or what's the deal with that?
Oh, business is definitely slower, and I think a lot of it is people want to sort of try to time the market, right? They see that rates are going up, and we tend to look at it as a linear process. That, how long are rates going to keep going up, and then when they turn and start going back down, there's a lot of surprise. And so I don't think it's wise to try to time the market from an investment standpoint. Just like, anybody who knows anything about investing would say, don't try to time the stock market. You just, you need to enter when you can and be willing to play the long game. And, if you buy a piece of real estate today and you sell it in 25 years, you're not going to care if you timed it right and saved an extra 2.5%. It's negligible.
My only regret about real estate is I wish I had every piece that I ever bought.
Right, me too.
And when, oh, that house is 40 grand, that's way overpriced. Now it's 500 grand for the same house. And I'd kick myself on every piece of real estate I've ever bought. I wish I would have kept, and I wish I would have invested. And I have a friend of mine, just a real quick story, but he's a pastor of a church. I hope he's not watching. But he had 5 acres next to his church, and they wanted like $120,000 for it. So that's way overpriced. I said, just buy it. You'll happy. Now that thing would be worth millions of dollars, and he didn't buy it, and somebody else picked it up. So I think to me, it's always a good time to invest if you can figure out a way to do it. The average person may not be at this point and be ready, but the reality is, I think there's always a good time to invest. And Chad, very helpful information today. I appreciate you coming and being a part of this today. And so contact Chad at Cardinal Financial. Connie's going to be on in just a little bit talking about that too. So we sure appreciate you guys' information. Anything we can do to help our clients further their portfolio in real estate, we sure appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.